All right, good afternoon to all of you and welcome again to our Mission Possible coaching series. I know some of you are going to be logging in and some of them will be looking at this through the week along with the students. So part of our commitment to our Mission Possible is to bring you some coaching series. Last week we talked about public speaking. This week we're going to be talking about coaching series right here about teamwork. So today I have Mr. Alex Mesa, and I'm going to be introducing him in a second. Okay. Was I on mute or did everybody hear what I just said?
You were on mute.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, good afternoon to all of you. Today, part of our commitment of Mission Possible is to be able to bring you different coaching, a coaching series. Last week, we talked about public speaking, and this week is about teamwork. So today we have Mr. Alex Mesa, and I'm going to be introducing him on the next slide. All right, so this right here is Mr. Alex Mesa. He's a senior recruiter for Albertsons and Safeway. He's also a region supervisor. He does a lot of teamwork corporate trainings to build connections, and he has over 5 years experience in team building and corporate work. So today he's going to talk to all of us about how to work together in teams. So as you know, our mission this year is that every team was given 20 acres of land located in the city of Crowley, and using the engineer design process, your team is transforming itself to landscaping engineers that will develop a space where the community will be able to enjoy nature and outdoor activities. And Mr. Alex Mesa will be here to talk about how to work in team, how to do teamwork. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let him speak a little bit about what he does, and then go into his tips for working in teams. So Mr. Alex, tell us a little bit about what you do and about the work that you're doing in building teamwork.
Yes, thank you so much. One of the things that I do within my company as a senior recruiter is I work with a lot of our several departments, all the way from engineering, product designers, product developers. And within those roles, I basically link with our senior recruiters who are a piece of my team who I work with in order to find great candidates for these roles. A little bit that we have on those kickoff meetings are weekly to bi-weekly meetups, just to kind of pitch ideas and get the concept of what the roles are specifically and what the goal is for the individual, bringing the individual in, and also for the team and company itself. That is a huge growth that we want to make sure that we are covering all dynamics when kicking off those teams. So a little bit in those is meeting with directors and managers in order to assure that we're also having a good understanding of what that looks like. Establishing deadlines, I'll move to that since that kind of goes off with kicking off. We try to make sure that we're working in a timely manner for ourselves as a company and also for the individuals that we're bringing on. And when we work with the team, everybody has a lot on their plate when we work in teams, and we want to make sure that we're getting the best ideas of concept in a timely manner and that we're coming to a conclusion as well in a time frame. And although we do not like to put too much of deadlines, we do know that we don't want things to carry on as often. So it helps to kind of know an establishing point of what we can do and how we can work that off and who's responsible for what. And what that looks like for me overall is what we call a scrum master in that division, someone who can connect everybody from each department and make sure that we're all picking up some weight in the company in order to move forward for the best person.
All right, awesome. So part of that, if you can go back to the first one, in talking to Mr. Alex beforehand, he really talked about, having a kickoff meeting. And I know many of you have already started your team, so you've already met. And like Mr. Alex was saying, was establishing deadlines and responsibilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about the establishing deadlines?
Yes, establishing deadlines is very important in a company, more for time management and also for cost efficient. You want to make sure that you're also benefiting to the market. especially on certain projects that you may have. So within your guys' education right now is filling out those 20 acres. You want to make sure that you're doing it in a timely manner to work with the city, just like within our company, to work with the organization, and also to have headspace and head counts. We usually try to make sure that we're looking at a 1 month to 3 months on projects, 3 months, and that's usually focusing by the quarter.
All right, awesome. And then for the next one, as we were talking earlier, you had also established, if we can go to the next slide. Scheduling regular meetups and discussions and being a team player.
Absolutely. Scheduling regular meetups is very important to make sure that everyone's getting a good grasp of where we stand. Usually I do a lot of my work individually, and then I meet with everyone else who I work with since we are national. I have colleagues who are in Arizona, California, and New York, and it's harder to meet in person. So we meet up on a regular basis through Teams or through Zoom or Skype in order to have a conversation of what that looks like and what it is that we can benefit in pulling statistics. Part of being a team player and how that just correlates with everything that is there is having the ability to communicate what you know and what you are able to do. So that way, everybody who's working within your team can also see maybe you can benefit in one part of the project and they can benefit in another in order to build that up. And that's what creates a good unity for sure.
All right, awesome. Mr. Smith, if we can go on to the next one. Another tip that Mr. Alex had been talking to us earlier is about holding everybody accountable to the job. And also number 6, playing nice.
Holding everyone accountable is very important. Knowing your dynamic and what you're able to do is a priority within working with a team. Sometimes there is certain things within a project that we won't be able to hold up to par or have a good expectation of what the outcome is. But at least as we're building up those strategic plans, at least letting them know what we're able to present and what that looks like. And that's the best part of working with the team. Sometimes we only get to 50% of a project when somebody else can bring 25 and another person 25. So that way the work isn't just reliable on you and you're able to come together in order to build something bigger and better outside of your own perspective. Playing nice definitely helps in order to kind of build those out, and it definitely flows a little bit nicer and faster pace.
Definitely. All right. And then the next tips for presenting your project, encouraging others to do the work. Sometimes, of course, we know that life happens. There might be something going on, but always encouraging others and being prepared to lead or to follow.
Yes. Encouraging others is something very great that I like to do. I have a lot of recruiters that work under my belt. I work with a lot of senior directors within certain roles, and I work sometimes with their managers. So it's all different levels of people who have certain skills, and I like to push them in order to find those skills and to have the ability to learn something different. There are some dynamics that we sometimes don't know and don't understand, and it's okay to ask what that looks like in order to learn, in order to understand and better understand everything all around. Being prepared to lead or follow, I have to understand when to fall back and have my colleagues, those who do not have the experience, take the leadership in order for them to have that experience and just help them and guide them in order for them to first of all, have an understanding of where we stand sometimes and to learn more about the projects that we work on, and it helps a lot.
Awesome. Mr. Smith. All right. So now we're going to open it up to questions and answers that you might have about working together. But first, Mr. Mesa, can you give us an example of when things did not go right working as a team, and what did you do to resolve that?
Absolutely. I think there's always sometimes some horror stories because it's hard to be compatible with everyone. I think one of the times that I had was working in my current company. I worked with 5 other colleagues in different levels and different areas. I had less knowledge to our projects that we were working on, and it was a little bit difficult for me to keep up speed. And one of the best ways that I was able to find a solution to that was just to ask questions and to let them know that at moments I was confused and what I did understand. Even when there were certain deadlines, I was meeting those deadlines afterwards and meeting that criteria, but sometimes the full information wasn't there. However, so working with my team, they were able to fill in those spots for me. And it's also just asking for help when needing it.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to be opening it up for some questions and some answers. Ms. Lee, do you have any questions that your students might have?
Yes, so with the holding everyone accountable in this Mission Possible, there is an alternate. So any suggestions on that person that would be that alternate? I'm asking that person to kind of watch everybody and learn every role. Do you have any other suggestions for that student?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a perfect flow to have for them as long as they're understanding the percentage textile that they can absorb from each role that they're taking on from that. Definitely having them observe at least 25% of like each task that is there in order to kind of be a backfill or to take a lead just to kind of help that person who's having the failure to launch is okay. But also letting them know when to lead and when to follow is when that comes into play.
Thank you.
I would add in on that just from being in there years past. We've had many competitions where something's happened and the full team hasn't.
I think you froze.
Yes, I think he froze because I'm not seeing him move. Yeah. So one of the questions that one of the teams was having was about, you come into the team together, but there's always that one person that's just not doing the work, and everybody else has to kind of pitch in because they're just not doing it. What kind of how do you go about going into that conversation?
I think the best way to navigate that conversation is ask them what they would like to be responsible for. Ask them what would be interesting for them in that project. If it's a group of 4 to 6 people and there's just that one person who's odd out, ask them what they would like to participate in and be responsible for, and also learn, because maybe the dedication that we gave to one person in that project was to do the planning and they don't like planning, or they just are confused, and maybe we need to ask, what would you like to do then? Or maybe they just have small information and they're scared to ask. So definitely finding where it is that they stand and where they would like to stand would help.
That's a pretty good idea. Mr. Smith, did you want to finish your question?
Well, I was just saying that alternate, even though you may be an alternate, you may not be the main presenter going in, just being ready, because hopefully that alternate, when they go in, if the judges, when you do your presentation, if the judges don't know who the alternate is, that means y'all nailed it.
Yeah.
Where it is a nice, smooth process. But that's the alternate. They have, to me, they got one of the biggest responsibilities, even though they may not be the person that's presenting the day of, they are, like Alex was saying, they are going to be responsible for knowing all the parts that go into it, because if one person goes out, they're expected to fill in there for that spot, where the main presenters, they're focused in on what their one spot is. So they are just as much responsible and just as much a big part of the team as the ones that are presenting the day of, that supporting piece. And they can also be the glue of that whole team on kind of keeping everybody organized in there as well.
Mr. Mesa, what do you do when you have that one person who wants to do it all and doesn't let the rest of the team work?
I think that's sometimes complicated, because I'm that person sometimes. And I think it's wanting to feel accomplished. And most of the times we have to understand as an individual, or even when we work in groups, is to, the best success is when you have people that can help you, and we're not capable of everything. The best way to approach it as well is to let them know that there has to be an experience for other people when working on these projects. If they were to take on everything, it would be very easy. It would be very easy for everyone else, but then that person's left without the experience in the future or in another project, or even if they were to migrate with a new team, they wouldn't have that knowledge of experience within the time frame that they did work on those.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because sometimes I'm that person too. I want to be able to do all of it, and talking about like when it comes to presentation, How do you go about delegating who presents, delegating who's the one who gets to stay quiet, but even though there might be 2 or 3 people wanting to present the same thing?
Yeah, I did a lot of tech talks within my companies that I work with, and I never wanted to present. I always stood in the back, and most of my coworkers and colleagues wanted to present, and they would always pick me at the end. The best way to navigate, it's finding that one person who is confident enough to have a full understanding and also represent everyone up there. Since the presentation is a representation of everyone and not just center of the stage, you want to make sure that it's someone who can show the work and show the credibility and show everyone's effort and intelligence in that moment of project.
Do we have any other questions that we think students might want to ask that will be listening to this week? Mr. Mesa, what's something that, as you've been working in teamwork, what's something that usually you see that comes out, something that you have to address in different areas?
One of the things that I always have to address is, where do we stand in knowledge of projects? And I think I've done that with many companies that I work with, such as Albertsons, my current company, previous Microsoft and American Airlines, is getting a full grasp. And sometimes we're scared to say that we don't know something or that we don't understand. And that's usually something that I have to ask people continuously, or at least present to them, to assure that they have a valuable understanding in their current company or within their current team flow, at least, and dynamic, because communication is the biggest goal when working in a team. The project is second, communication is first, and just having the ability to understand one another's ideas and plans in order to get that into motion is a priority.
So I have a question. So for this project, this is about a 2 or 3 month project that the students are putting together from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you reflecting back with your team? So we're talking about working in a small team. So we're talking about, 4 to 5 people in a group.
Right.
But how often do you have checkpoints where you're progressing, and like, do you ever just put the brakes and be like, okay, we need to take a look at this and evaluate to see if this is the direction we want to go, or are we staying on track, or are we doing donuts out in the field? What's going on? Where is our progress for our goal?
I have definitely found the best checkpoints to make for yourself before making it with the team is every Monday and Friday. Usually Monday, you start one checkpoint of where you think the plan and project is going. And also you set up that Monday with your team to see what it is that everyone's doing and what the expectations are. Having another checkpoint Friday to see how that week went. Did anything change? Did any new plans come up? Is there a new construct? If you guys are doing a full life cycle project where it's beginning to end, you want to make sure that you're having an understanding in the beginning and also end of the week. So it would be exciting to set those 2 days for sure.
So a question came in the chat. How do you help students step outside of their comfort zone when assigning roles?
That one would be a little bit difficult, only because the comfort zone is very comfortable and hard to get out of. But I think we have to show them that it's also exciting to have a new experience when we stay in a comfort zone. When it comes to these certain projects or certain roles that we're doing, we're only doing something that we do know, and we're not having the ability to understand something outside of a new experience, and also working within a new dynamic and working with new people. So it's just presenting them something exciting and letting them know that they have the ability to do something new.
Have you seen, from your experience, a variety of leadership styles? So for instance, I just kind of think not every leader, kind of going back on this question a little bit, what I'm thinking is not every leader has to be that go-getter, like go through and I'm going to assign everybody their roles and this is what you're going to do.
Right.
That's one style of leadership, but what are some other leadership styles that you've seen where people can take?
Some leaderships that I have seen was also who I call the delegator. Basically, they create the construct of plan for each project, and then they tell each person what they can do and what they should be doing. And I've also worked with that leader who doesn't do everything, but also does want the investment with each person's responsibilities. And I think the best way to lead for an overall is just to understand what each person can do. But there's different leads for sure. The type of leads that you would want to be or hope to be is someone who can support also the idea of learning something new, and also when they don't know something. So that's the best way to lead.
So what type of leadership role do you normally take whenever you're in a project?
I usually take the supportive lead. Basically, I will sometimes delegate some of the roles. I cut it into percentages depending on steps that I set up, and I'll let people know I created the plan of project and this is what I would like you each for to do. And I invest myself with each individual because usually since I made the project, I know the steps, I know the outcome, and I try to make sure that each person knows the vision that I created, or whether if they have a different plan and input, because I have worked with people who aren't not to use a term, but visionaries, or can't see the end game, but can build it first. And there's also that middleman. So there's 3 different steps: your first, your middle, and your end. And there's always that different buildup. And I have to know who I'm working with to know, do I have to be a middle person, or do I have to be a beginner, or do I have to be a finisher? So just knowing that, and each dynamic will always change with each person as well. And I don't think it's just one way to be a leader. I think there's many ways to be a leader, and also to improve that leadership.
So we are working on a project, Dr. Valencia and I, and we both have completely different ideas on what this project is.
Mhm.
And so we are having a conflict on how to proceed and move forward. So if you are the acting leader in our group, how would you address that situation between the two of us where we are both, like, I know I'm right and she knows that she thinks she's right, but you do have those situations, and we're not conflicting. It's just a scenario, but you do have those situations where sometimes you might be the leader and then you have one person in the group that wants to go one direction with something and another person wants to go another direction. How do you kind of reel those people back into accomplishing what the team goal is?
I think the best way to look at it even when in that position is there's still an excitement from 2 individuals who may have contradicting opinions of what the results should be, but they both want their best results. And it's having that understanding. The best way to bring them back together is finding that middle ground. 2 of the ideas that people may have in the project may be a very different outcome, but the setups and the plan can be the same. Basically, the steps that each person's writing down when creating these projects will probably be in the same lines, and just finding that middle ground to know that they're not wanting to ruin the project. They want the best thing as well. So what's possible, what's plausible, and how can they make it work together? And maybe bouncing that ideas to each other, that definitely does help. Sometimes I know I do like to think that my plans are the best plans, but I have to give somebody the space and opportunity to share their opinions and their ideas, because that's what makes it exciting when you do start these projects, is that you don't know what the outcome will be. And that's why you have to work with the team to be sure that you can create a vision. And if you don't have the ability for that, somebody else can create that and you can help them for those steps. And just knowing that you both want to achieve something good and great, and having that full understanding.
Cool, appreciate it. She wants to bring cookies to the event. I want to bring chips, and neither one of us is budging. So we gotta work this out one way or another.
Yeah, that's where you come to terms to say both. The more the merrier, for sure.
All right, and we'll do a couple more questions, but I do have this one. I am definitely in a team. I'm definitely the leader. I'm definitely the one that comes in and says, we're going to do this. Here's the vision. This is what we're going to do. But there are some times that I have to sit back and I have to be the follower. What advice would you give that student that I wanted to do this, but everybody else wants me this other person to be the leader and me the follower? And Alex, I think, Mesa, you and I are usually the leaders
Yeah.
What do you do when you have to follow and just bite your lip? I mean, what advice would you give to them?
The best advice that I take for myself and for Dr. Valencia would be to take that step back. What is everybody looking and hoping to get from that one person? We are all great leaders individually. However, so when we do come in group scenarios, there will be that one person who will be able to present all of us when we work in those teams. And I may not have that dynamic to be the best presenter or leader when working with a certain group of team. But sometimes when I meet another team, they would want me to lead. And as well, if I was in a team with Mr. Smith and Dr. Valencia, maybe they'll want Dr. Valencia to lead. And that's the great thing of working within that project of teams, is that everybody has the ability to give an opinion and to sometimes make it a vote and make it an understanding of why. Having that communication, maybe someone's a best presenter, maybe somebody else will just represent everybody else and be able to speak the ideas as they come in the moment, or just have better speech capabilities.
When we're going through this, I'm a gamer.
Mhm.
And so I think about, when you have games that require a party, it's group work, but everybody has a certain role that they need to fill for the party to be successful. If you have everybody attacking, but nobody healing, you're not going to win. If you got everybody healing and nobody attacking, you're not going to win either. So a good party has a very diverse group with certain skills, and that's what makes a successful party, not so much just having everybody excelling in the same thing. And sometimes it might be like what you're saying, just I may be wanting to be the lead, but maybe for this project, maybe I need to take a step back and be more of a supportive role in order for the group to be successful.
Absolutely. Even being the best lead is someone who can stand back and kind of find the things that fall between the cracks of the projects. Someone who can kind of pick up where maybe one person is not fully understanding, so they'll need help of another person. And that person who wanted to lead and had to step back will be able to help that person advance. And also, you're considered still a lead just as a defense, and it helps a lot.
Ms. Buckner, do you have any questions for your group that you'd like to ask or have them ask?
Not at the moment, but I am listening, so.
Cool.
All right, I think that's all the questions that I had. If no one else has any other questions, any other students?
I will throw this plug out there, this just kind of closing this out. Make sure if you are doing Mission Possible, teachers and teams, make sure you get registered into the Google form, because that lets us get access. I created a Microsoft Teams group for all the coaches. So anybody that I know that has been registered, I have added you in there. So I've been posting the previous mentor discussions and Zoom links and everything that's been going in there. So if you're not in there and you're watching this, please let us know. That way we can get you added in. We know that you have a team. So there's that Google form that went out. And just please let us know that you registered and you were participating, so that way we can keep you in the loop. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on all the secret information that could really help your team out. So make sure you are on that. You got that form filled out. We know how many teams we're looking at. That way we can get you added to our teams and you get to see all the secret stuff that not everybody else gets to see.
Yes. Okay, so I believe that is all for today. Mr. Mesa, I want to thank you so much for being our guest speaker today about teamwork. Thank you for being part of Crowley ISD. as we continue our Mission Possible. And thank you for giving back, volunteering this time for students. It does mean a lot for us to be able to bring in real world, people who are working in the real world to come in and be an example for students who are working in our projects. So thank you so much. We've definitely recorded this, and what we do now is we send it out to all the teams to listen on this part of the coaching series. We do invite you back if you would like to be part of our judging, be part of our event. And we have we set up a date yet, Mr. Casey?
It is April 20th, I believe.
April the 20th, where students are going to come in, and then you get to come in and see how they're working together as a team.
21st.
21st, yeah. April 21st, there are presentations and everything else, and it's an exciting time. So I'll definitely send you out an invite if you want to come in and just be part of that, just so that you can see how students took that advice that you gave them today, and they were able to capitalize and work better as a team. All
Absolutely.
right.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lee, Ms. Buckner, and all the other students who will be listening to this throughout the week. Thank you, Mr. Casey Smith.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget,
right.
March 7th, round 1 videos are due on Flipgrid. So make sure those are ready to go by next Thursday, I believe. So looking forward to seeing those.
All right, thank you.